Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me again this week. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go live. So this is the best thing I get offer as a pre-recorded show. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so. Also feel free to leave comments in the chat on your thoughts. So guys, this week we're going to talk about an important date. Yesterday was March the 19th. I'm very important day for us cloud gamers. Let me take you on a little adventure now and show you what I'm talking about.
Where? Back to the future!
It's exciting, guys. It's exciting.
Please welcome to the stage the CEO of Google, Sundar Pichai.
Okay, so if you haven't guessed by now, we're going back to GDC 2019 when the big announcement was made. It was exactly 3 years ago yesterday, and just wanted to quickly touch on all of their original ambitions and the features that they had in place. It's not the main focus of today's video, but it's important that we at least take a quick look. I'm sure there's lots of people that have never seen this. So guys, I'm going to try to skip through this and just bring to your attention a few of the key features that they announced that day. They didn't just announce these features, they actually demonstrated them, which shows that they were in place and prepared to bring them along with everything else. Please stick with me. I promise it's important and we'll get through it as quickly as possible. And focus on the main message from this video. Thanks again for joining me. Okay, let's move on. So there's just a few features that were displayed on that day. As well as they made it very clear that Ubisoft was a leading developer for their upcoming library. Hinting at partnerships or whatever you want to call it. It's pretty obvious by the smile on the CEO of Ubisoft that he's pretty excited about the project.
Welcome the CEO and co-founder of Ubisoft, Yves Guillemot. Thank you, Yves.
More than likely his excitement was about the upcoming announcement, which came in June of 2019, that they were bringing Ubisoft Plus on board as well. Let's jump forward now. Okay, so let's try to move on to the main point of this video. And that is how Google handled the launch of the product, and everything that came into place after the release date, that forced Google to sidetrack all of their original plans. So after the initial announcement at GDC 2019, Stadia made another appearance at E3, in June of that year. That's when Ubisoft confirmed that Ubisoft Plus was coming to the service with 100+ games, as well as they confirmed the official date for launch of being November the 19th. And I believe they opened up registration for founders at that time as well. So now it's November of 2019 and the rollout begins. If you remember, it was done in incremental stages based upon the day you pre-registered. So Google begins the rollout in this manner because it's in a much more controlled form, sending out and activating users in blocks rather than just opening the floodgates. They did this for a very important reason, to make sure that the experience for everybody was as good as it can be. If they would have just fully opened it up, there would have been a mass influx and many people would have had a bad experience. I think a lot of people fail to see Google's main goal for cloud gaming is for it not to feel like cloud gaming. The reduction of lag is priority one for them and has been since early development. It's very clear that's the reason why they chose Linux, because Windows is so full of bloat. And for me, my day one experience was flawless. And I believe that's the same for most of the founders, so it's pretty clear that they had a great rollout plan in place. So guys, now we're on to the main subject of this video. What the hell happened? Is everybody out there correct? Did Google completely drop the ball and lose their original focus and vision? They came out with all these ambitions and promises and then it appears that they just gave up. But in reality, you guys, sometimes things are much different than they actually appear on the surface, so let's dig deeper and find out what they actually did. Okay, so we know they launched on November 19th. And continued this soft rollout based upon registration and things were going great. We know the news articles said otherwise, but the actual players were enjoying the product. So exactly 60 days after the launch came tragedy struck for Team Stadia. Do you remember? The world was getting ready to face something it had never faced in the history of mankind. The virus was discovered in January and lockdown started in February of that year. I think so many people fail to realize just how much this affected everything that was originally planned. So number one, as soon as Asia went locked down in February, hardware prices began to rise. There's no doubt in my mind that Google's suppliers all had substantial price increases. And like I said earlier, the whole rollout and product itself is based on scalability. So it's not too hard to see that this was just the first of many issues to come. So what happens next? What's the second effect that came? People began staying home. Employers were drastically short-staffed. This includes developers. So now with almost every major developer under additional constraints, couple that to the fact that Stadia was already at the bottom of the list because they were already behind on most projects for their bigger customers. So now we have a hardware and a software problem. Let's move on to number 3. Okay, so the third one is definitely the elephant in the room. It's everybody's favorite subject. The in-house development team led by Jane Raymond SG&E. So now think about the issues that they are facing. A brand new studio looking for programmers to join their team in a world of chaos. Even under normal conditions, a brand new studio startup has difficulty bringing in good talent beyond management to be able to have a well-rounded team. And now mix that with everything going on. Just think about that as well. This did not just affect Team Stadia, remember it's worldwide, it's affecting Google corporate and on and on. So with everything all tied together, just think about the decisions that had to be made. I'm sure since they were aware of everything coming down the pipeline that it was easy to decide to close the studio before they got too invested. Also more than likely immediately scaled back on any advertising plans for Stadia because of the rollout difficulties they now were facing. So now, in addition to all these problems directly tied to the rollout of Stadia, and the fact that millions of people are now staying home around the world, someone might stop me here and say, hey, but wait, why didn't they just take advantage of all those people staying home and advertise Stadia to bring more players to the platform? But without the ability to increase their server blade supply, this made that impossible. Also, something that you're probably not thinking about is YouTube had a 300% increase in usage, so now the data centers that Stadia is being built upon is under extreme heavy loads. Plus, not only YouTube but every major streaming service in the world, Netflix, Disney+, Amazon, etc. All of them are at maximum capacity. ISPs worldwide are reporting constraints and concerns, further restricting any hopes Google might have had to be able to successfully capture audience for Stadia. It should be pretty clear for everybody that the decisions they made were in everybody's best interest, including the people from SG&E. Including you and me, by not overloading the system and making our gaming experience still lag-free and amazing. And with last week's announcements, you can also see how the funds were much better served to create the porting tools that we should be benefiting from very soon. People are getting back to work, developers are at full staff, hardware prices are dropping. We've weathered the storm. The last 2 years simply need to be forgotten. Anybody that expected Google to be able to achieve more than what they did should be ashamed.
Shame on you! Shame on both of you!
Those that proclaimed Stadia dead or other negative activities owe the people at Google and Stadia a huge apology. Of my book, they definitely got it wrong. Well, I hope this gives everybody a little better understanding, and now that most of this is behind us, I truly believe we're going to see the original vision come to light. Once again guys, thanks for joining me.